Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, stethoscopes around the neck for a health and wellness report as we get ready for the Red Raiders to return to United Supermarkets Arena next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today. You're going to get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more hits. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you, my man. And we're setting the table for the weekend. On today's episode, looking ahead to Red Raiders and Golden Knights as Texas Tech is back in the LBK in action from United Supermarkets Arena, trying to put an end to this three-game skid. And as we've talked about, well, fairly consistently to this point in the Big 12 run, you really want to hold serve on your home floor. You did drop your first home contest the last time that you were in the building. But as you and I look ahead to this one and what's coming up after that, you've got some big swing games here, again, to decide whether or not you might firmly plant yourself into an NCAA tournament kind of picture down the stretch. Are we going to be on bubble watch? A lot of these things will be determined over the next 3 to 4 days.
Big swing game. I like it. Yeah, like tee it up high and let it fly, right? Grip it and rip it. All the analogies. Yeah, man, you got about 80 minutes of very, very meaningful basketball coming at you in the next, 72-ish hours from the time that people may be listening to this. Because, yeah, Central, and I don't want to overstate it. And I think sometimes this gets thrown around too much, but and it's not. But I'm going to say that it's close. But, man, this game is – it's kind of like must-win type stuff, like conversation. Just because you're on a 3-game losing streak, you only have so many home opportunities left. We've already established that you've got to hold serve. You didn't the last time, which puts more importance on this one, in my opinion. And this is a team that, to be frank, you're probably supposed to beat. I don't know if you were supposed to beat Cincinnati. Like, yeah, you were favored. Cincinnati's a good team. They have a higher net ranking than you do, okay? And they were pretty much even before the game started last Saturday. But, on this one, I mean, you're quite a bit higher in the net. You're just a few games above them in the standings. Actually, just maybe just 1.5 games difference. However, this isn't some slouch, man. I mean, they've beaten Kansas, they've beaten Texas, they've beaten Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're going to try to do the same thing, and then you're going to feel great about it. So we can't sit here and say that because you've already beaten Texas and Oklahoma, and you're going to have to try to beat Texas again, and you're going to have to beat Kansas. But Central Florida is not, they're inconsistent a bit. Johnny Dawkins' team, I think they're kind of maneuvering their way through, the Big 12 and what life is like here. But, they went to Austin and we did the deal, and we got yelled at for it, and we were told we were classless and all the things. But they've had some highs, they've had some lows. They've won at home, they've won on the road. But they're 3 wins that's going to get everybody's attention is Texas, Oklahoma, and obviously Kansas to start out the conference season. This is And they're probably very similar to Cincinnati in that this isn't going to be easy on the eyes at times with them. They just kind of out-tough you, out-rebound you. They'll shoot bad shots on occasion and try to get to the free throw line, because there's games in recent weeks where they'll attempt like 9 free throws, and there's games in recent weeks where they'll attempt like 28 or 32 free throws. And that's really the difference in their team. You'll know if you're going to be in a fight if they're really getting to the free throw line at a high rate, or you could be in trouble. But they've got 2 guards, and Darius Johnson and Jalen Sellers, that average about 30 a game total combined. And then after that, they've got a big, which everybody's got one, Ibrahima Diallo, 7 foot 250. So let's hope Warren had a Z-Pack or a lozenge or some B12 shot. I don't know. Let's hope the big fella for the Red Raiders is doing okay.
Did you ever imagine being a Big 12 broadcaster that you'd be so well versed in the names of this globe? I mean, good Lord, you just roll through. And I couldn't even tell you if you're making them up half the time. Like, yeah, sounds good to me. He's saying it with confidence. So I'm going to act like he knows what he's doing. He is a professional, folks. Yeah, Central Florida, by the way, pretty good run through the Big 12 Conference first time around. If you're going to knock down Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, that's not a bad year, even for those of us that have been in the league, for 2+ decades. But really, I guess the only kind of inexplicable loss, if you will, was at home against BYU a ways back. That was back in the middle of January. But otherwise, it was on the road at K-State, on the road at Houston, on the road at Cincinnati, and then they did drop an 8-pointer at home against Baylor. But these are not like, crises-type losses. They've been right there on the edge.
Yeah, I mean, this – make no mistake when I say that you should beat this team. It's not – there's a difference between that and it being easy. Because they can easily come in and pop you, if you're not right, and if you don't have a sense of urgency and all those things. But they've been very competitive. I just think it's with them. It's been some inconsistency, and you could tell by the free throw line attempts. Are they being aggressive or are they settling? Because this isn't some great shooting team. They're just kind of, again, long and athletic and. And Diallo down low, he's got like 40 blocks on the season. So, again, the colors are going to be different. We're going to call them the Knights. My man Cowan calls them the Citronauts. But it's going to look – there's going to be some similarities the way Cincinnati looked. Not quite as long as some of the positions or maybe as deep. But I think they're very similar. Just trying to, wrestle you and fight you and – get into the lane and see if you're willing to, are you going to play without fouling or are you just going to hack me? And then I'm going to get mine at the free throw line. Again, because your guard tandem here and Sellers and Johnson is pretty salty, and Sellers, people have talked about, Pop being all Big 12 and all those things. Well, I mean, Sellers averages as many points a game as Pop does. So, and people probably have no idea who Jalen Sellers is. Transfer from Ball State and all that, but he's having a really good year in a brutal league. And as you mentioned, they pulled off some pretty good wins. And I think this was a Central Florida team, one that lost a lottery pick last year. And I want to say they were picked to finish maybe at the bottom. This may have been the last place team preseason. And it speaks to how good this league is, I guess, that they've been in a lot of these games and all those things. So I don't know, man. I just think you should win this game, but you're gonna have to play well to do it. And I need to probably be careful about assuming too much. But it's sense of urgency needs to be really high for the Red Raiders on Saturday at the arena, Cowan.
Glad to have them back at the U.S.A. and hopefully being spurred on by a home crowd. Not glad to have to include this as part of our conversation today. First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and happy Super Bowl week to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And FanDuel has more ways than you can count for you to end this season with a dub, or maybe 2 or 3 or 4, not 5, not 6. Not only can you bet on who's going to win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which player will score the first touchdown, how many points are going to be scored, and so much more. National anthem action. That do anything for you? Check it out at FanDuel.com. New customers also joining today, and you're going to get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. All you got to do, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. A health and wellness report. Apparently, Grant McCaslin this week was going like Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka. Like he's bedridden, and all of a sudden he's like, all right, tip off, boom, got to hop out, do a little jig, and get down to Waco. I mean, we saw reports of 103-degree fever. This is just for the head coach, by the way. Warren Washington did not play in the previous game. You might have seen what it was like the previous Saturday against Cincinnati when we were hacking and coughing and spitting and all that stuff. Pretty much, I don't want to say team-wide, but for the most part, a lot of different guys were in that kind of category. If you're not watching on YouTube, we'll tell you there is a reason that Chris Level has a stethoscope around his neck this morning. Dr. Level, paging Dr. Level. Could you weigh in? I don't know if you have a feel for this. I don't typically ask you about these things. Could you weigh in on how these boys are feeling as we get back to tip off tomorrow?
Well, it's a bit scary when, like, in a team and somebody gets like the flu type symptoms or a couple years ago COVID or whatever, because everybody's together. You do everything together. You're traveling together. You're eating together. You're practicing together. You're standing next to each other. You're in film rooms together. I mean, just together. And when one person kind of gets it, it just spreads rapidly through the team. And so this has been going on for really, I guess we're a little over a week in, I would say maybe a week and a half, to where, there was some coaches, players that just weren't, because, I mean, Lamar Washington didn't play last Saturday either, and then plays 1 minute the other night. And I think Pop was dealing with it big time last week and still kind of dealing with it in the middle of the week. Joe and Warren, as you mentioned, I mean, I think Warren was getting an IV at halftime last weekend, and that's why he was delayed coming out. And then he had to get re-warmed up in the tunnel with the strength coaches. I think multiple players had IVs after the game was over just to try to replenish them and get, because what do the adults or the doctors in the room always tell you when you're not feeling well? Make sure you're pounding the liquid, man. You need to continue to drink. You need to eat the soup. So it gives you it hydrates you and all that stuff. And so I think, the IVs is just like helps that immediately. But like Grant, he didn't even. This is the first time this has ever happened in all the years I've been doing this. But he was just sick. What are you going to do? And he did not travel with us the day before the game. I first noticed it. I guess I was already in Waco, and I'm like, hadn't seen, because sometimes there's a lot of people on these trips, and you just, if you don't lay eyes on them, but obviously when the head coach is not there, it's like, didn't take me long, and they're like, yeah, he's home sick. So he came the day of the game, just trying to get another night's rest at home, and just trying to, I don't know, it's just tricky because you're in the middle of a grind, you're stressed. You're thinking about a million things. You've got a million things to tell different people, and you're managing your staff. And did we remind them to do this and that? And then you go out there and you have to play the 15th ranked team in the country in a sold out crowd and their building. And oh, by the way, you played there and used to coach there, and so it's probably not emotional or anything for you. But I thought he did a hell of a job. But hopefully he is feeling better. That's the last thing that I told him after I interviewed him after the game, man. Get to feeling better. That can't be a lot of fun. So fingers crossed that everybody is on the mend. And I'm glad this was a Tuesday to Saturday game as opposed to like a Wednesday to a Saturday. Now that we got through the Waco trip, and maybe, I don't know, maybe Waco would have been a bit better if you wouldn't have played it until Wednesday night, and Warren could have played. I don't know, but it wasn't real pretty. And good on them for keeping it very competitive and almost pulling it off.
Yeah, and you're looking pretty good. Did you interview him from across the floor like we used to do during the Rona? Hey, Coach, great game, huh? I said great game.
I know you're joking, but I
had to be in your mind.
The day of the game, I had what they call emergency, which is like this powder stuff with a lot of vitamin C and D and whatever. There's these little crystals that you put under your tongue. That's kind of a preventative when you're not feeling good for the flu or whatever. And so, drop some of those. I mean, just trying to, but I knock on wood, man, I feel okay. Yeah. Okay. Not everybody's gotten it, but man, because there's a lot of mask wearing and a lot of body conscious of like, hey man, not going to shake your hand. Just going to do the hug and hand pound or fist bump, whatever. And so, I mean, yeah, but thankfully I don't have the sniffles or anything like that. But yeah,
fingers crossed.
Maybe I'm on the clock. I don't know.
No way. Can't think like that. Fingers crossed for this good run to continue. And I don't know, man. You pull out all the stops when you're trying to win a Big 12 basketball game. So maybe some of these guys, you get something going on near the UCF bench and you're trying to get out of a trap or something. You just maybe over there towards the old boys from Orlando. You know, they're out there sunny and 78 all the time. I don't even know if anybody gets sick in Florida. They're just typically born that way. I think they arrived that way. And I could just offer this suggestion as someone that was cured of the vid of COVID once upon a time. After maybe 3 or 4 days of like 102 plus, I married a beautiful, authentic Mexican woman. I was kind of fending off her south of the border magic for a few days. Then eventually I said, nope, layer me up with those raw potatoes, baby. She did. Boom, fever breaks that night. So pack a few raw potatoes, Chris. I don't know, maybe when you get to the gym tomorrow, if anybody's running hot, just slap a few potatoes on them. And then what do you got? Potato chips after the game as well. So just, hey, that's good advice for anybody in the audience as well, whether it's the potatoes or marrying a beautiful, authentic Mexican woman. Okay.
I mean, well, good on you, man. And it's like Kramer and Seinfeld when he just barges in the room one day, he's laying down. He's like, that's a lot of potatoes.
We're trying to stay healthy out here.
That's right. Yes, yes. So I like your little recipe. I might try that out. My wife may not be cool with me marrying somebody else, but yeah, but
maybe not that part. Maybe not that part. That's right. But don't sleep on the potatoes, and always just consider maybe switching back to filtered cigarettes as well if you got some raspy throat issues. Quit rolling your own. Chris, before we move on to what's going down in the Big 12 conference and elsewhere this weekend, the guy that's standing out to me from earlier in the week against the Baylor Bears, Joe Toussaint, he kind of gets off of a little snide that he had been on. It's no guarantee, obviously, that, hey, now he's breaking loose for the stretch run in the Big 12 conference. But I think from a confidence standpoint, for him, it was great to see him get back to the category of impact player, and hoping maybe we see some more of that tomorrow.
Yeah, and his head-to-head matchup, against Central Florida, against Darius Johnson, and then turn around Monday night against DeJuan Harris, two really good point guards, and I think Joe, if he can continue to, because I mean the other night, yeah, his performance was impressive, and I thought he, we touched on it a little bit in that he kind of he looked to score, and I think knew that he had to, like, man, fellas, we don't have a plan B. I gotta score, man. Like, we don't have the big fella to throw it up to. He hunted his shot a little bit, and then with that, I think that's what Grant has talked about in recent weeks, is that it's like this internal game with Joe. It's like too often he's too passive or too much trying to get other guys involved, and then doesn't get aggressive enough of himself trying to score. And then with that, then neither happens. But I thought he scored so much the other night that it opened up his ability to distribute, just because, what do you have? Like 18 and 6 or something the other night.
I think so,
yeah. So, but I think if he can continue to build on that, you'll be in good shape. Because, I mean, it's just, I think in Big 12 games, Pop Isaacs is averaging 20 a game, okay, like just Big 12. So his scoring average has actually gone up in league play, not down, which is crazy.
Wow.
But he can't continue to produce at this level every night. There's going to be some night where, and maybe the other night was it, where he just didn't quite have it, but Joe needs to continue to help facilitate and score, certainly, and then avoid the turnovers.
Man, and I got to say, kind of quietly, I don't know if we can call it quietly, actually, because he's had some of the most explosive days of anyone. But to this point in the season, we saw another scoring impact day for Chance McMillan in Waco, emerging as your third leading scorer on the team to this point in the year, behind only Pop and Toussaint. I think you've got your money's worth out of Chance McMillan and then some. Don't know what I anticipated for him this year, but he's giving you everything he's gotten, and it kind of seems like it's just getting better and better as the season goes along.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think I've had people ask me, man, why don't they play Chance at the point, or like when Joe was struggling, and kind of switch things up. Well, Chance at his core is like a 2 or a 3, like a shooting guard or small forward ish, but he's pretty. I know we've used this term a lot, but he's pretty undersized. In that role compared to what other people have, especially the small forward spot. But he has got elite athleticism, and again, he can get really hot. But what we're seeing now is him kind of not level off, but now starting to produce nightly. Whether it's not just 26 and then 4, it's 13 to 16. Like a lot of the time. And I think that is certainly needed because it's easier to coach kids like that. It's easier to understand what you're going to get from your team when you have kids like that, and that's why every coach would tell you, I want consistency out of kids. And if you're going to be consistently bad, be consistently bad. That way I know what I'm getting. And like, okay, I'm not going to trust you. Okay. Well, you had your chances. This is what you are. But it sometimes can drive coaches crazy, like the highs and the lows when it's not the chance has been like that. But I think it's a little more evened out, which has been a good thing for Texas Tech, and that because he's helping provide a little bit, if not a lot, every single night out, and that's good. I'm looking forward to seeing him back here next year. That would be a guy that I would be thrilled to watch. Okay, man, maybe it's a little bit more in year 2.
Yeah, no doubt. Get you excited for what the future could hold. As far as the future coming up this weekend, anything else got your attention, or is it all Kansas Baylor? That's the only top 25 on top 25 matchup in the Big 12 this weekend from Lawrence. That's a 5 o'clock tip. Otherwise, you got Texas Christian visiting number 14 Iowa State. The Mountaineers are coming to Austin to take on the Longhorns. Kelvin Sampson and company go on the road to visit Cincinnati. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma there in Norman, K-State, BYU in Provo. But aside from our game here in Lubbock, I imagine that circle is around KU Baylor at 5 o'clock from Lawrence.
Yeah, and it's not lost on me that maybe you catch a bit of a break here. I think Kansas State caught a similar break maybe this past Monday. But Kansas really revved up for that Houston game last weekend, and they ended up playing well and ended up winning by double digits. However, I think Bill Self would tell you it took a lot out of his team, and maybe you get a similar effect with Baylor rolling in there. I mean, Kansas could roll, and they often do at home, regardless of the opponent. But there's a lot of hype. Game day is there. A lot of distractions. Well, I mean, regardless of the result, they're going to walk into a sold out, United Supermarket Arena on Monday night, and a team that's going to be desperately trying to hold serve at home. And Kevin McCullough be showing up for the last time. I had I had somebody tell me recently that was involved. Mark just wasn't going to ask TJ and Kevin to be back. He just wasn't going to do it. He just wasn't going to be a part of them coming back because of how popular they were. That doesn't make your head explode. I don't know.
I was getting ready for a Good Friday, Chris. Why are you throwing that at me?
I know. I mean, how frustrating is that? So
hey, I'm going Rafiki on you. It's in the past.
Yeah. So yeah, that's right. That's right. So maybe TJ and Kevin aren't necessarily the villains that they have. Some have wanted them to be. But anyway, Kevin McCullough last time in Lubbock. So maybe you catch a bit of a break. But yeah, pay attention to that one. I always pay attention to who's the home team that's going to drop one. I think it's not going to shock me if TCU beats Iowa State. It's not going to shock me. It would shock me if, with some of these other ones, Texas should win. I mean, I don't think Cincinnati can beat Houston.
Cincinnati's been off for a week. They're coming in a little rested.
They have, and they've got the athletes to beat. And that game may be a rock fight in the 40s.
Well, and which way does it go with the officials? Do they want to punish Kelvin Sampson for what he did this week, or does as we talked about yesterday, the squeaky wheel get the grease?
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, it's a great point. Yeah, because I'm kind of. By the way, any feedback on our officiating conversation yesterday?
It united the nation, left to right, conservative, liberal, whatever. I mean, it united the nation. I knew that was going to be a conversation where there wasn't a whole lot of combativeness in the YouTube comments. No, we were all united in our frustration. with these guys. So.
Yeah, and it goes back to what coaches want out of players. I think fans want the same from officials. And this league, to your point a second ago, and this will play out at the arena, tomorrow. This is a physical league. This is a very, very physical league with elite play from a college standpoint. The coaching is big time. The depth is there. Size is there. And I think it's fascinating the way letting them go, not letting them go, as far as playing style or half to half. But that's why I say against Central Florida, I mean, if they're going to call it ticky-tack a little bit, I don't know if that benefits you or hurts you. If they're going to let them play and and just let anything go, I don't know if that benefits you either. But you just have to kind of figure it out and identify and hope for some consistency there. But Bedlam tomorrow, I don't know if that does anything for you. Kansas State at BYU. I would expect BYU to win this game, but if Kansas State's going to make, they're going to have to go get some of these road wins, and they haven't been able to get any traction. But they're coming off a monster win on Monday night, so that's one. But definitely in Lawrence, and then I think the one in Ames with TCU being there are the two that I would have circled.
There's going to be something weird happen. You have to imagine this weekend. Just where's it going to happen? Are the Mountaineers
not in Lubbock? Hopefully,
are the Mountaineers going to do something strange in Austin? Is Cincinnati going to hold serve at home in a strange way? Is Oklahoma State going to go on the road and somehow get a win against a team with a better record in Oklahoma? BYU still hanging around in the top 25, but K-State's got a better Big 12 record at 500 than they do. BYU 4-5. You just know there's going to be something crazy or some wild finish probably among one of these games. Yes, as you said, hopefully not the one in Lubbock. Chris, before we get out of here, looking ahead to the weekend, I'll just ask you this question. Is this soon to be Patrick Mahomes' most impressive Super Bowl win yet?
We do have,
if he can get it.
We do have the greatest television event. You were telling me earlier before we started the show how you were looking forward to the Usher halftime show.
That's right.
Would not have guessed that. I mean, but I was like, man, I got to tell you, I'm here for the entertainment. So, Calvin, I'll agree with you there.
I got it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he as much of a legacy as he already has. I think that this really where it's maybe kind of, God, he's still so young and, you just don't know how much more he can do this. It's kind of pencil type stuff at this point with so much still to go. If he gets a Super Bowl title this weekend, and especially if he's like the MVP of the game, and I would say, you've cemented you've kind of done what a Troy Aikman has done, and he's a Hall of Famer. You've done because I think I saw him in the category of if he were to win a third one in this short time frame, it's like Brady and Aikman are the only ones that have ever done that, in the time frame that he'd done it. And Aikman obviously won the three of them, but this would be impressive. And I think everybody would tell you they were not great a lot of the year. It was a grind. What's wrong with the Chiefs? They're broken. Was it all Bieniemy? Was it, and then, the Taylor Swift stuff, distraction, Kadarius Toney being a mess. I mean, and yet here they are, and they lost. They lose 6 games this year.
Yep, 14-6.
But here they are, and so it's all to me. I'm sorry, Andy Reid deserves some credit. You have the best player on the planet. And I wouldn't bet against him. Other people may look at and say, I'm going to take the 49ers, but he doesn't get sacked. He doesn't make mistakes. He makes it look easy. And I mean, I wouldn't bet against him on Sunday. That's for darn sure. But you win your third one and at the ripe age of, what is he, 27, 28? I mean, it's insane. So yeah, look out.
I don't know that it'll be as slanted against him as it was when they were taking on Tampa Bay, and he's running for his life every snap. But I mean, they're going to come into this probably and kick it off as underdogs. They're still underdogs as I'm looking at FanDuel here today.
Point and a half?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so slight. Yeah.
I don't know. I think if he's able to pull it off, this might be the most impressive one that he's gotten so far, because there were some things working against them this year. Hoping that he is able to do that. And yeah, I don't know if I'll be in the chair in time for kickoff, but I'll be in the chair in time for USHERRAYMOND. I mean, the halftime show is what it's all about. You know me. I'm one of those throwback halftime guys. Shout out to, that one guy and then, the other girl and, all the great halftime performers of years gone by. The only one I can remember right now, literally, is Prince in the Rain in Miami. I mean, how could you forget that one?
Purple Rain.
That's right, baby. That's
right.
All right, Chris, appreciate the time as always, my man. Get back with us on the other side. We'll obviously be reacting to the basketball game, but might kick off next week as well with an update as far as offensive line coach Hunt is concerned and all kinds of other stuff coming at you next week here on Locked On Texas Tech. So looking forward to it, man. Enjoy the weekend.
Enjoy it, folks. Be good out there. Hopefully see everybody at the arena on Saturday. Hope your team wins on Sunday. We'll be back to break it all down on Monday with a game staring us right in the face against the top 5 ranked Kansas Jayhawks. So giddy up.
Whatever happens in Lawrence, let's just hope for quadruple overtime, something along those lines.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Appreciate you guys being out there as always. For Chris, I'm Casey, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.